remember back around the late 80s or early 90s, I watched a documentary where marine biologists, using a tiny new submarine, attempted to reach the ocean's abyss, essentially the end of the Earth. Excited as they were to get to their destination, the biologists had to control their speed, the speed of the descent, in order to allow their bodies to acclimate. Their slow dive through the layers of the ocean had me on pins and needles. Down, down they went, till they arrived at the ponderous darkness of the abyss. A cocoon of bright light surrounded their tiny vessel as it made its way around the inky blackness. Creatures never before seen by human eyes began to appear. Some approached the vessel timidly out of curiosity. Others floated by, oblivious. The crew's joy at being there was imbued with a sort of sacred reverence as they moved in wide-eyed silence along the depths. After a while, they came across an enormous pink flower. They used their mechanical arm to clip it and bring it to the surface, but during the ascent, the change in pressure caused the flower to disintegrate. They found another one and tried again and again, moving at different speeds, until at last they found their rhythm and successfully brought one to the surface. I was living in Texas back then, and one evening I went to a poetry reading at a local barbecue joint. There were a surprising number of poets on the bill, but it was a sultry summer night, and the beer was flowing, so the crowd that had cheerfully stuffed itself into the restaurant's covered porch was happy to settle in for the evening. One of the last poets that night was a young man wearing preppy glasses and old cowboy boots. His face was already a panicky shade of pink when he got to the mic. Beads of sweat started forming on his upper lip as he contemplated the paper in his hand. It took him a moment to settle himself and find his voice. But when he did, the poem was extraordinary. I can still remember some of the imagery, the poet as a child sitting with his dad under a sycamore tree, both of them looking up at the night sky. I fell head over heels for him. We started seeing each other, and it became clear that he wasn't just skittish about public speaking. He was also skittish about commitment. I told him about the deep-sea documentary I had watched about how rushing had damaged the flower, so we could take things slow and try not to damage our budding connection. Fortunately, he liked this story. He started writing me love letters and signed them with the word time. We were still together 4 years later. He was in Texas finishing his master's in creative writing, and I'd moved to New York to study acting. We were quite busy, but we would make sure to call each other at least once a week to check in. After a while, when I casually looked through pictures and letters he sent, I'd come across the word time written in his familiar scribble, and it began to tug at me. I wondered if maybe our process of gentle, intuitive becoming had gone a little too far and had been hijacked somewhere along the way by a type of sweet neglect. But there was nothing passive about our relationship. Neither of us was wilting. In fact, we were thriving. We were exactly where we wanted to be, doing the thing we were meant to do. Maybe that was it. Maybe that was the source of the tugging I felt. We had given ourselves over to time. And in return, time rewarded us with a true love, an uninhibited love, one that honored the mysterious unfolding of the other. We had found perfect rhythm. We had successfully brought our flower to the surface, and this is what it looked like. Him in Texas, and me in New York. So that tugging, I was acclimating to the reality that our time together, beautiful as it was, had reached its end.